Hello, how's everybody doing tonight? Cool, thank you all so much for coming out to Indienomicon. This is our last Indienomicon of the year. It's cool. Like, we made it another year. That's fantastic. And we're going to be starting back up in January. So, thank you all for coming out. What is Indienomicon? How many of you have been to an Indienomicon before? How many of you, this is your very first time? The other people. All right, cool. Thank you guys for coming out. We love seeing new faces. If you're not aware of Indienomicon, here's what you need to know. Indienomicon is dedicated to raising awareness for locally developed independent video games. We do that through a series of monthly events. So first Thursday of every month, we hold one of these meetups. At each meetup, we present usually 2 to 3 games, all developed here, usually in Central Florida, right? We've gone out to like Jacksonville and Tampa a few times, right? But for the most part, we're talking games here developed actually in Orlando. So it's an opportunity for you guys to hear the developers talk about their games, a chance for you to talk to them face to face, and also to play their games as well. Games are usually at least in beta. Sometimes they're already released. So for the ones that are not released yet, it's kind of a chance for you guys to help determine what makes it to the market. And for the ones that are already released, a chance for you guys to support the developers by downloading them, right? Maybe doing some micropayments or something like that and helping them out. That's Indienomicon. We also sponsor some additional events, game jams, and a few other things here around town. You'll hear about some of that stuff tonight. Just so you know, let's go one slide down here. Oh, okay, I'm going to scroll. We have social media. If you guys want to follow us, you can use the Love of Indie hashtag. We're also at Indienomicon on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Indienomicon. And you can also visit our website at Indienomicon.com as well to keep track of all the things that are going on here in Orlando that are game related. If you want to help support us, we always want this to be a free, family-friendly event. So we have a merchandise table in the back. If you guys want to pick up some T-shirts or some shot glasses and things like that, you can check that out before you leave tonight. Also, if you're familiar with Patreon, you can support us through Patreon as well. And that keeps these monthly meetups running free so that nobody has to pay anything. You guys can just show up and support some local developers. We also want to thank the Melrose Center for being our home here for the last 2+ years. The Melrose Center is amazing, and if you guys have just a library card, you can get access to all of the fun stuff here in this space, including the simulators out front. There's a bunch of classes that you can take that are free. You can learn photography, you can learn video editing, audio recording, a bunch of stuff, all free here at the Melrose Center. So we definitely love having the Melrose Center as our home. And let's see. So if anybody is a video game developer and would like to showcase your games in future meetups, come see me after the presentations, and we can talk about that and get you guys hooked up. So at the moment, let's go ahead and start with our first game, which is Rolliverse. I'd like to introduce Anthony and Chris from Dream Beacon. Come on up, guys.
There you go. You want to start it off? Or? I guess. I'll be right next to you. I'll be right next to you. Just say hello to everyone.
Hello. Does this work? Am I the right distance? Is this better? All right, guys. We are Dream Beacon. We're missing 2 members, but majority of us are here. We're a small team of 6 that is located right here in Orlando, Florida. We basically one day said we wanted to make games, and we all had the skills for the most part, so what were we waiting for? Why wait till graduation? Why wait till the next month? Let's just start now. And that's how we started off, right?
Yeah, it pretty much happened like over dinner. It was like, yo, we can make a game, right? And I was like, yeah, I think so. So we were all like, all right, let's just make a game, dude. And we didn't really know what we were in for. So we were like, oh yeah, we're gonna be done by like, what was it, March? And then no, we weren't done by March. But yeah, feature creep. I keep adding things apparently. But yes, I'm Derek. I'm an artist on the team, and that's Anthony. He's a programmer. And you guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Wilvin. I'm also an artist.
And I'm Chris. I'm an artist as well.
You didn't hear him. He said he's an artist. He didn't want to come to the mic. So how do you click next on this thing? You just swipe? Where's the keyboard? Oh.
Nice, we got it.
Should have known this before, guys. Sorry, we didn't practice. Okay, so our game, Rolliverse, is a mobile game, and being that it's a mobile game, we didn't want to make this typical mobile game, the bejeweled clones. We really despise that. So we decided we don't want to make something as big as a console game, but we don't want to make something as tiny as a mobile game. Let's bridge that gap. By doing that, we wanted to make something that was challenging, something that you can play over and over again and really want to get that high score and play because you enjoy it, not just because it's really easy, fly through it, play for a day and never play it again. Being challenging but fair is one of our core pillars. Not being a glorified minigame, like I said, a bejeweled clone. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to make it stuffed, but not to the point where it was jarring. Most people play mobile games in short bursts. They pick it up, put it down. But the key is having them pick it up over and over and over and over again. So we designed our game to be that way. You can pick it up over and over again, but there's enough content that you can keep doing that for a while. And the last aspect was to make it social, something that you can share with your friends and pass on and just enjoy the experience together. The video that we're about to play here is what Derek used to sell me on the game. Over that dinner, they were all for it except me. I did not like the idea. I said, it's way too much, too complicated. I'm the lead programmer. You're gonna put all this on me? No way. And then he showed me this video, and I was like, okay, sure. And I'll let you talk through what this. Well, that went too far.
There you go. You can just press play on it. Christ. There you go. Just click the video.
It's like laggy. There you go.
So yeah, my inspiration. Well, I don't know if you guys remember those games. They were like a board game. It had like a metal ball or whatever, and you like roll it around. I forgot what it was called. What? Labyrinth. I guess. I don't know what it was called, but I remember loving it. I thought it was awesome. So I wanted to get like that sort of feel, like you rolling a ball around, like moving your phone and stuff. But I also wanted, obviously, not just like to get to a goal. So I wanted to have sort of like side things that you could get. So you see there's chests there and stuff. I also wanted to have interactable things. So you see there that there's like fingerprints on those. That's so you can interact with them. This is like really crude. This is like just like to get my thoughts out there. This is just an animation. It's not like the actual game or anything. So yeah, that was my my base ideas for what we wanted. So and then.
So yeah, what he basically said was Marble Madness and Captain Toad mixed together. That's exactly what he wanted. And we wanted to make sure that we weren't just on a mobile platform to be portable. We wanted to take advantage of the fact that you had that interactability.
And so this is sort of like how that level, but realized in our game. And we'll go into more of how the game works just in a second here. But this is like that same level, but we actually got it made. And it took a while to get to this point. I was like, holy crap, dude, like it's actually there. Like we did it. So there it goes.
Yeah, and it looks a lot different. As you can see, the chests are scattered around in different places. Some parts aren't there that were in the previous video, but we'll jump into that in a second here. And yeah, so this is our game, Rolliverse. That simple little video turned into this. We wanted to make sure that, like I said, we were bridging the gap between console and mobile. Most console games have a story, so we wanted to tell a story. But we didn't want to dilute the experience with too much story because people on mobile don't want that. So we came up with a very simple to comprehend story, but really entertaining, and you can get all the tongue-in-cheek references if you're an adult and you're into that stuff. The story is really simple, but it's there, I believe, 3 cutscenes. 1 cutscene in the middle, 1 cutscene in beginning, middle, and end. And the whole world is built around this story. Our main menu, everything, the credits, it's all built in to represent this story. And Derek is the mastermind behind the story, so I'll let you go into that.
Mastermind sounds kind of intense. But yeah, so you're the blue guy, you're Zep. You're a space explorer, you're a pirate. So your goal is to be as awesome and feared and infamous as your father, which is over there on the left. So is that the left? No, that's your right. I'm sorry. Thanks, man. Yeah, so your goal is to, you want to be the best. You want to have the most treasure and stuff. So Zep decides that he wants to steal the princess, which is right there. She's Princess Terra. And what makes her so valuable is that when she cries crystals. So basically, if you kidnap her, you're like rich as long as like you don't get caught. So he goes to kidnap her, and then that guy in the back, Ironhorn, he swoops in like right as Zepp is about to like unleash his master plan, and Ironhorn just takes her, and Zepp's like, no way, dude, like I had this planned out and everything. This was perfect. That was gonna be my princess, and I was gonna be rich. So your goal is to steal back the stolen princess.
And on the way, as Ironhorn takes the princess and whisks her away across the galaxy, she is crying on 6 different planets. And these are the planets that you will play on. We have 6 planets, 5 levels each for a total of 30 levels. And you're collecting these crystal tiers and the star crystals on all of these levels. And the reason you're stopping there is because Zepp he's money hungry. Let's just say he's greedy. He wants all these crystals. Yeah, he wants a princess, but he's not going to let those tiers go to waste. And the cat guy there he's a shopkeeper. His name is Cleo. Fun fact, before we were Dream Beacon, we were Cosmic Kitten. Cosmic Kitten. And I'm the only person that liked that name. So they changed it, but in order to make me happy, we snuck a little Easter egg in there, which is Cosmic Kitten is in the game. So here we go.
Quit the video. There you go. Sweet.
So this is a walkthrough of the level. That little light you saw there is your spawn beacon. Whenever you play the level, that's where you'll spawn, and whenever you get to a chest, you want to make sure you retrieve that crystal back to the beacon. If you die on the way back, that crystal no longer is yours, and you have to go back and do it again. You only need 1 chest to proceed to the next level, but there are 3 in each level, some more difficult than others to encourage replayability. And if you get all 3 chests in one go without dying and bring them back successfully, you will get a medal. And get all the medals on a planet, and you might get a special little treat. You never know, maybe. So anything that is intractable, you'll see it's shiny with these little particles there. The bridge, you can tap and they'll move. They're these little alien creatures that are sleeping. You tap them and they wake up. And the trampoline over there as well. Okay. Yeah, the enemy right there is the bear. He will protect his zone with a fury. So if you get into his zone, he will chase you until he gets you. If he doesn't get you, he will keep chasing you until he reaches the end of his, there you go, until he gets the edge of his zone, and he will get shocked because Derek likes to put shock collars on bears. And the little blue guy following you is Boro. Every pirate needs a parrot, and he is your space parrot. He also represents your health, so whenever you get hurt, he will flash and change colors. He goes from blue to yellow to red, and if you get hit when you're red, you're done, you respawn. He will also give you tooltips if you're near an object that's sparkling and you don't know how to interact with it. If you click on it, Bora will give you a little quick tooltip and tell you how to interact with that object.
Here it is, bro, the big guns.
And a lot of the things you've seen there have been done before in many other games. So the big thing that makes us different is all of those levels were made in our custom level editor, and we're extending that level editor to you guys. We wanted to make sure it was simple to use, but there are already simple to use level editors on the mobile market, so we wanted to make sure that it was also robust if you really dug into it. So some of the features that we have in the level editor are tap on the grid to place blocks. You can double tap on a block to stack them. You can raise the blocks up and down, move them in and out. You can multi-select on a block and duplicate them, and once they're duplicated, you can erase them as one, move them as one, do pretty much anything that you can do normally once they're multi-selected. You can also change the settings of a lot of these objects. Most of these objects will come with settings. For example, the block will allow you to change its texture. There are 6 different planets in our game, and we wanted to represent that. So most of the objects can be changed. You can change their texture, change their look. The bear, you can change his range. We have other enemies that you can change their stats as well, so you can get really in-depth and make your level really unique. The little slider on the side will raise that grid right there. So if you don't want to go into every object and raise them manually, you can use that grid and just place them. This skybox can be changed as well to represent one of our 6 different levels plus space. The grid can be expanded if you think that's not enough space for you. And you can easily jump into play mode right from here. That little window that we pulled up is your toolbar. It might get pretty annoying having to pull that thing up all the time. So we have a little bar on top that you can just bring your favorite objects into. And if you just tap that little window, you'll see that first row. And you can tap it again and it'll go down, so you don't have to keep bringing the window up and down. and the little red circle is your current selected object. And right here, this is just a quick run through of some creation, placing blocks, deleting blocks. That's one of our hazards, the water. Go into the water and you'll die because Zep sadly can't swim. Spherical things, they tend to have a hard time.
All right. And is our trailer?
Yeah. And we'll end it here. Well, you know what? Pause real quick. I forgot to go over some of our game will come out we're aiming for April, so a lot of the features aren't implemented yet, or they're almost there, but they're not done yet. And some of the features in the level editor include combining objects into a custom prefab so that you can use them in other levels. So if you made a bridge, you can multi-select them all and combine them and then save it. So in another level, you can reuse that bridge. Undoing and redoing is a feature that we're working on. It's almost getting there. Right now, you multi-select by clicking and holding on an object and then continuing to select the other objects. We are working on a just select and drag multi-select as well. So there's a lot more features that we're adding and a lot more interactable props. Most of the props that you'll see in our demo today are just the tip of the iceberg. Most of them are just found on the grass planet, and we have 6 different planets. So.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
And
We have time for a couple of questions.
okay. So we had a quick trailer we were going to show. I don't know.
You got time for questions?
Do you want to just play it in the background?
Oh,
Yeah. We can play it in the background.
Everyone will get a chance to play the game, but yeah, go ahead and run it while we take some questions.
Yeah, we're going to play the trailer in the background. We'll take some questions.
Yeah, I have one. So I mentioned the social aspect.
Yes.
I'm wondering, if you build a level of your own, can you share it with friends?
Yes, you can. You can share your levels and download other people's levels as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a big thing that I missed.
Can you have like a friends list or something like that, and see everybody's a friend high scoreboard or something like that?
That's something that we've been discussing, and it's not in there yet, but knowing him, he will add it.
Yeah.
Right, like time trials. I mean, there's a ton of. I can see the feature creep in this.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We've had a lot of talks about having leaderboards and high scores for your friends and seeing where they stack.
Is this Unity?
Yes, this is me.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
When did you start working on it?
We started
January?
design in December, and then we started working on the game in January.
Like end of January, right?
Yeah, around the end of January.
How many levels do you have at this point? How many are you expecting there to be here at the end?
We have in the demo we have about 3 levels, and some levels that we have in the level editor. In the final game, there's going to be 30 levels, and we have some levels that we have internally that we just haven't put in the demo yet that are completed. Yep.
On the map creation, what are the limitations of height, width, and how many things to have on the map?
For that, we will have a bar. We haven't included the bar yet because we don't have all of our objects, and we want to make sure we thoroughly test to see what objects cost more than others. But optimization has been key for us, so we want to make sure that you can stuff your levels with many things as possible, but still be able to run it fairly well on a mobile phone. And as of right now, we've been able to fit a lot of things, but there's no limit as long as you don't reach the threshold. And right now, there is no threshold, so you can chug the frame rate if you want right now, but I wouldn't do that.
One more question.
How do you destroy the boss?
How do you destroy the boss? That is a spoiler.
How do you destroy the boss in the game? You buy it.
Shoot, that spoils things. It's its own. It's its own its own thing. It's worth it. Trust me, it's worth it. Captain Ironhorn, it's worth getting to the end. This guy, what's inside his head is crazy.
He's like hyping me up, dude.
No, not in a bad way as well. Like
But thank you.
Sometimes, whenever he opens his mouth, I have an idea. I cringe.
Cool. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, cool. So we have a couple of quick announcements here while we make a changeover to our next presenter. First of all, where's Rupert? Where's our friend Rupert? Rupert, come on up. Rupert has a couple of different things to talk about tonight. Let's give Rupert a round of applause. He doesn't need a microphone.
How's everybody doing tonight? Good. All right, thank you all for coming here. 3 announcements. Number 1 is, anybody here know what Otronicon is? Yes. Okay. We still have a few spots open. It's free to exhibit there. You can exhibit 1 day, you can exhibit 2, you can exhibit all 4. 15,000 people were there this year. It's coming up in January, so if you want to get really good feedback and good demo, you know, and all that for your play testing for your game, there's no better place to do it. Okay? So we still have a few places left, so go to otronicon.org and apply to exhibit, and then we'll guide you through the process and get you going there. So is anybody interested? Anybody already signed up? Okay, we got a few people. All right, awesome. So everybody needs to be raising their hands, right? Okay. So number 1. Number 2 is the Melrose Center every year has an awards program where they invite people who utilize the facilities here to create their projects, to submit and then say, hey, come vote for us. And then this year they're giving away a $1,000 prize. And one of my teams, Major Games, they're one of their projects called Vectromir, which has presented here. Guys, this is just the most badass game. It's VR, PlayStation. It's going to be a PlayStation and Xbox VR game. We're the only game running. So, do you want a video to win? No. You want a photographer to win? You want an audio guy to win? You want the game to win, right? Yeah. All right. So you need to go to melroseawards.ocls, Orange County Library System, .info, and vote for us. Okay? I'm not a crook. And then the third thing is Orlando is considered one of the top entrepreneurial communities in the country. And the Kauffman Foundation, which is a major philanthropic organization, they have this thing called 1 Million Cups. And 1 Million Cups is in 100 cities in the United States, and we handle 100 startups a year. And what you do is we meet every Wednesday morning at Rollins College from 9 a.m. to 10. We have 1 to 2, usually 2, companies like yourselves that come in there and do a 6-minute presentation to our what we call it a guppy tank. And there's investors in there, there's people with game experience in there, there's service providers, there's other entrepreneurs in there, and you get amazing feedback about your business and your business idea there. They're always asking me, where's all the game companies? And I'm like, all my companies have already presented. And they're like, well, we need more game companies. So I will help mentor you on the presentation, and it's an invaluable opportunity for you to get more acclimated to the business side of being successful in games. Okay? So 1 Million Cups, every Wednesday morning at Rollins College. You can go to 1millioncups.com. And then vote for us, Vectromir, at the melroseawards.ocls.info. And by all means, sign up for Otronicon. Got it? Yes. Awesome. Thanks. Have a good night.
And Nicole has an announcement as well. Let's give Nicole a round of applause. You'll have to shout because we switched over to HDMI.
All right, I don't have to whisper in here. I just have to whisper to him. Okay, 2 things. So 1, very quickly, this is not my event, but I've been asked to share information. I went to it last night. It was super cool. Called Got Game, and it's an event put on by EA Playtesting. And they do video game trivia over at BART, which is a little bar and arcade on Mills. If you've never been there, it's pretty cool. And they give away real games as prizes. So last night it was Battlefield 1, Dishonored 2. Like, they're giving away games that came out 2 weeks ago. So seriously, go there because it was awesome. It was a lot of fun, and they have really good beer. So number 2, Indienomicon board. We are recruiting committee members and people to get more active in Indienomicon. So if you're interested in putting in a little time, a couple hours here and there, let one of us know. We'll take your email address and send you an email. We're going to be setting up probably a Google Hangouts chat sometime in the next couple weeks. That's all I got. I was so fast.
All right, so let's get to our second game of the night. I'm happy to announce Brian Stabile and Karis Baker from Astro Crow. Astro Crow is one of our most presentingest indie studios here in Orlando. In fact, I think you guys presented at our third meetup. Is it the third or fourth one with the last Ace of Space?
Yes,
Yeah, a long time ago. So we're happy to have them back and presenting their new game, Highlight Heroes. So they're going to connect here. Should pop up momentarily. Let's give them a big round of applause. There we go.
Oh,
Let's
hey.
back up now. Cool.
How's it going, everybody?
Actually, we can just run this. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Sweet.
All right, guys. Hey, how's it going? I'm Brian Stabile. This is Karis Baker. During the day, we are instructors of video game design and such over at Full Sail University. And at night, we are doing this all the time, Astro Crow stuff. This is Highlight Heroes. Before this, we've made 14 games on mobile. Maybe some of you have seen them. This is, I think, our 5th time being here. You can just search Astro Crow in your app store. You'll see all of those. Let's see. This is going to be the first time, like I said, we're going to be doing something possibly on console. We're shooting to get it on console, but you got to talk to people. You can't just say you're going to do that. That's the goal. Why is that going slow? I don't know, but it's all right.
It's all right.
So, Highlight Heroes. What is Highlight?
Does anybody know, first of all? Dangerous sport. It is a dangerous sport. What were you going to say?
I know what it is.
All right.
All right, so even though we are one of the few places that does have a Highlight fronton, Orlando has a Highlight over on 1792, most people here aren't even aware of it, right? So Highlight is a sport that originated, if you see in the middle, the Basque region of Spain. It's like the southern part. It is kind of like racquetball, but you have a basket tied to your hand, all right? And you can't use the side wall, which is like the fourth wall of the audience, and you... just like the same thing. You hit the wall, it has to bounce twice, or you have to grab it before it bounces twice, or else the other team gets a point, right? And that's what is it? It's Dania Highlight. There's a Miami Highlight. It's like all in Florida, and there's like one in Texas. So it's a very, very niche sport, right? And most people haven't heard of it. It was big in the 70s, and then in the 80s there was actually a strike for like 3 years, and that killed all of its popularity. And we're bringing it back. Well, we weren't the first people to do it. Highlight is a beer from Cigar City, and that's how most people know the name. They go, "You're making a game about a beer?" And like, no, but we're probably going to try and get them to cater our launch party, so make sure you come to that.
Yeah, that's right. So what he's saying is it's a game from Spain that stays mainly in the plane. By George, I think we've got it.
Most people probably don't even understand that anymore. We're getting old. It also was prominently featured in an episode of Archer where they went to Miami. Did I plug the audio in? Is there an audio cable there? Is this the audio cable?
We got it. You might remember the subject matter of this episode, which we won't share.
Yeah. I won't play.
That's fine. He says,
Made of limestone? It's a dangerous game, amigo. Yeah, well...
it's a dangerous
That's
game.
about it.
amigo.
Basically, it's a very hard ball. It's like the fastest game in the world. That's what they call it. The ball can go at like 100-something miles an hour.
And did you know 4 people have died playing Highlight? It is incredibly violent, and hopefully we'll be able to portray how violent it is.
Yes, and while still getting an E from the ESRB, right? So development of this game started in September. It's actually come along really, really quick. I've been surprised at how quick we've got this game from absolutely nothing. The way it started was I was sitting there. I have a really bad habit, and my friends will know this, of starting new Unity projects. I probably have about 40 to 50 unfinished games that are like 60% done, in various states from 60 to 80% done. So I just opened up Unity, hit a new project, was messing around with like ball physics, trying to make some sort of puzzle. And it reminded me kind of having the ball bounce. It was like, what could I do with the ball bouncing against walls? And I remember when I first started Astro Crow, like 6 or 7 years ago, in between waiting for my artist to hurry up and just finish his art, which I do a lot of, I started making other prototypes, and one of them was a Highlight game. I was making this on mobile, and it was just all 2D. And then that was 5 or 6 years ago. Then all of a sudden, as I'm staring at Unity blank in the face, I was like, highlight. All right, it's time for highlight. And I just started putting it together, and it came together really quick. I'm like, this seems like something we should keep pursuing. So we officially debuted it at Orlando IX. Did anybody see it there? Maybe somebody. Okay, a couple
Cool.
people.
Hey,
Awesome. Yeah.
how's it
So
going?
that was the first time we made it known that we're making this highlight game. And so the game is it's 2D. The players at least are 2D. Hand-drawn animation, all by Karis. I was going to say I only live vicariously, and it's such a bad joke. But anyway, the background is 3D, so we're trying to work 2D sprites in the 3D world, but still make it feel like the 3D world itself is kind of hand-drawn. We're still working on that, and it's gone through a lot of changes, so it's getting better and better each day. Let me show you guys what that looks like, if the resolution is even high enough.
High enough.
High enough, yeah, let's put this in. Astro Crow doesn't make money, but we make puns.
High enough. New slogan.
Oh boy. So that tells me that I'm gonna have to run it again because it's not showing up. Hold on.
So one of the things that's really important to me is making sure that our pixel resolution is always true to classic retro games. What we're mostly looking for is that early 90s vibe. You know, we've got a lot of those squiggles. We've actually found, what is the name of there are names of paramecium that are also applied to like those old Saved by the Bell doodles that you see in 90s animations and stuff, and like title screens and things like that. You guys know what I'm talking about?
The little background things, the little squigglies.
Yeah. So Highlight had its heyday in the early 90s and late 80s, right when he was talking about that strike. So we really want to pull together that feeling of Miami Vice. We actually took screenshots of Miami Vice's intro and took elements of each screenshot into the game to try to get that feeling, right? And we're also trying to incorporate a 16-bit style. So we've got dolphins with sunglasses and hot cars, cool chicks, or vice versa. In the background, you'll see the skyline of Miami and some palm trees and things like that. We are playing on a beach, so we're trying to pull together nostalgia of maybe not playing Highlight since not a lot of people are able to, but maybe watching Miami Vice as a kid and seeing the highlight portions of that intro, right?
Let's move this over here so we can talk.
Oh, good idea.
So, what you're looking at right now, this is the current build of Highlight Heroes. We took out the music so we can talk over it. Okay, so it's got an interesting mechanic though, where you take the right bumper or the right analog stick. What am I talking about? Take the right analog stick, you pull it back, and that is your strength. You see that little thing moving, the little red line. Once you get your strength, you roll it counterclockwise. I gotta do it in a faster motion. I'm trying to show it to you. And the angle that you release it at is the angle that it'll shoot the ball. Okay. More advanced thing is whatever on your left analog stick, the Y value that you have, up or down, will determine the depth. So it'll go back towards the wall, or it'll go back towards the front. See how I bounced it off the back wall? Because I held this one up. Grab that. You can jump off the walls. You can dash. And when you dash, it makes your hitbox twice as large, so it's easier for you to grab the ball. You also have a turbo with the right bumper, so it's kind of like an NBA Jam or NFL Blitz. We're trying to shoot for that type of demographic, that type of like fun, quick to get into, but it still feels like you're playing a sport all the way through, because Highlight only goes up to 7 points. We've disabled scoring just to show you guys how this works, because there will be a tutorial for how to do all this, because the hardest part is to teach people this mechanic. So that's what we're currently working on, is how can we get it so every single time someone picks up this game who's never seen it before, they understand fully how to rotate this stick. Currently, when we show this game off, we have to tell them by instructing them and actually like explaining it to them, but we'd like for it to be very like self-evident in the game itself.
So now we have Professor Pelotari.
Yeah.
Who is going to be
which
teaching
I can show
you.
in a second. Another thing about this is part of the gameplay at the moment is you have to be aware of where the ball is. So if she's right in front of me, she gets hit by the ball, she actually gets knocked over, so now she's stunned. So there's a greater chance of me scoring.
And I might be dead.
Yeah. And and it's going to be 4 players as well. Like we can turn on the other players, but we don't have the controllers. We'll have them over there. You can play 4 players. So for anyone who isn't aware, like what you would do is you would serve it here. It would have to land in between those, which I just did. So that would be a good serve, and she would have to pick it up and hit it against the wall anywhere, just as long as it hits the wall first, and then if it doesn't bounce twice or if it goes out of bounds. But the next time we show this off, it'll have scoring and serving all implemented. So let me turn on the tutorial just so you can see what it's kind of going to look like. We were working on this afternoon, so it's very, very early.
We're very busy people.
Yeah, too busy. If I can
Slightly
find
masochistic. It's fine.
Definitely masochistic. Here, a tutorial.
There he is. Look at him.
This little guy that we made, she made, Professor Pelletari, and it would just show everything right here, and it's going to have the players around here, and would make sure that every single player playing correctly does each mechanic before it moves on, just to make sure everyone understands, so that if they start playing the game, because we were seeing when we were testing it that some people, if they couldn't get the mechanic early, they just kind of gave up or just walked around the room. But it was a good sign, because people who were terrible at the mechanics still thought it was fun just to bounce off the walls and just to dash and stuff like that. They had a lot of fun doing that. So I think that's a good sign for us. Let's move back. Yeah, so this was at Florida Free Play. I don't know if anyone was there.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. It's a bunch of pinball and retro arcade machines that were all set to free play.
And Keith Apicary.
And there were a couple of booths for indie designers, and so we had our game, and a lot of people came by. A lot of people just enjoyed it. There was this one group of kids right here we wanted to show them because they kept coming back. It was a 3-day event. They were there every single day playing it. And
for like 30 minutes, like each.
Yeah, and they kind of got they grasped the controls pretty well, but then they were just running around.
Something we noticed is that every time someone would get a hold of the mechanic, the base mechanic in the game, the throwing, they wouldn't even have the scoring on, but they wouldn't stop playing. Like we would have to be like, okay, it's time, give back the controller. It's kind of. I hope you guys will also find once you're able to play the game that it is quite addicting.
So, estimated launch, we're trying to do summer 2017. We're going to shoot and try and make this a Switch title because it's family friendly and it's 4 players, right? And it's very low graphic intensity, like what do you call it, not demanding, right? And then eventually it'll make it to PC, Steam or whatever. We're going to try and do some local demonstrations in the area. So if you stick to our Facebook, facebook.com/AstroCrow, or if you go to our well, I'll explain that in the next slide, actually. We have a subreddit as well where we're tracking all of our progress. We're also going to be working on doing an arcade cabinet that we're going to try and move around to various locations in Orlando, possibly BART, possibly Geek Easy. Working on some sort of unique control to do the throwing as well as the buttons, right, without making it just a controller, right? Mm-hmm. So some sort of dual joysticks that have buttons actually on the joystick. So it's going to have to be custom made, but nowadays with like 3D printing, that stuff can probably be done pretty easy. The game will not just be highlight, just in a room with 2 or 4 player. There's also going to be various mini games and modes like target practice. We've been actually working on Space Invaders, where you have to bounce it off the wall to hit the Space Invaders. There's a keep away mode that we actually were testing that was really fun, where basically if you grab the ball, you have until the timer goes down to throw it, and then if your teammate gets it, as long as you have the ball, someone on your team, a timer goes up, and then there's a general timer going down. And so if you wind up committing a foul of some kind, either the ball stays in your hand for too long or you pass it to your opponent, your teammate, instead of hitting the wall, you both fall over. So then it gives it a chance for the other guys to pick it up, and a lot of people had fun with that at Free Play.
Absolutely.
So, progress for this game, we're going to be doing, like I said, all of our news, our updates, and then eventually the open beta invites, or closed beta invites at first, will be reddit.com/highlightheroes. Please subscribe. You'll see everything we do. We'll also be announcing when we do our development days on Twitch, which we've already done like 3 or 4, where basically it's she Skypes in or she comes live, comes over and we'll all be working in one spot, but we'll be sharing both of our screens. We'll have the code up, we'll have the art up, and then we'll have us in the corner, and we switch between that based on what's interesting. Because sometimes code is the least interesting thing, right? I'll just pop it up just real quick to kind of show people what's going on.
Pixel animation's the best.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyone likes that more.
And then what we're trying to do on our Twitch, we're trying to downplay people donating to us. We like, if you want to support us, like we're a game studio, we don't want handouts necessarily. We'd rather you just download our other games that are already out there. You know, maybe spend some money on in-app purchases, or just even those free games help us out. Not a lot of people realize that when you move up in the rankings, the more downloads you have, the more you get more downloads. Does that make sense? It's kind of a once you're famous, you get more famous. You know, so just moving things up in those rankings or whatever. Anything else, Karis?
No, man. I hope that you all enjoy playing Highlight Heroes once you get the chance.
Yeah, we'll be over there somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Time for some questions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey, what's up?
The mechanic that you were talking about, you were having difficulty with, at what point, if any, did you talk about changing it, and why did you apparently not?
Okay, so it's not the fact that it's difficult, just difficult to pick up. So what we're what we're focusing on is working on the tutorial rather than changing the mechanic itself. Because once people are able to, once we introduce it, right, and then we're able to practice it and we can master it, everyone's fine with it. It's awesome and they enjoy it very much. So what we're struggling with is how to introduce it to the player, because there is a little bit of a ramp up just in the ability to perform the mechanic.
Also, I'm a little stubborn when it comes to making that mechanic happen, because a lot of people were like, why don't you just make it a button press? Why don't you make it like Yoshi's Island,
Yes.
where it kind of just goes? Because part of the whole game of Highlight is the fact that the ball has to continuously be in motion. So when you grab the ball, you have to always be moving it and then throwing it forward. So like a way to kind of simulate that was you had to rotate the stick. And so I feel in the arcade version of it too, it'll definitely feel like, I'm thinking some sort of joystick where you can hold it this way, so
Yeah.
still you have that like motion, right?
Yes. So we don't want to give up on the idea of the. We don't want to give up on the idea of the unique mechanic, because that action of moving the right stick is really important to us. Any other questions?
Oh, plus I've been doing a lot of tweaking to make it so it used to be you had to like get it all the way to the edge and move it, and then I found ways to kind of skip over some steps so people who kind of do it more casually, it still works. So they don't get frustrated. Yeah.
So we did change it.
Going off of that, I see you're targeting the Switch and Steam. Is it playable with just one analog stick and 4 buttons to do that Switch thing where 2 people play on one console? For Steam, are you going to require game pads?
So for Steam, someone explained to us that we could do away with the mouse, which was a pretty decent idea, or a trackpad. So you can move around with like WASD, because you don't need that much precision. But then like maybe with a mouse, for example, you could do that type of tracking. You kind of rotate it, move it around gesture-like. And if it worse comes to worse, and we can't implement that type of rolling mechanic, there is a way to possibly do it with buttons, right? Where you kind of could X to A to B type thing, but then you're going to lose a lot of precision. So it would probably be something like X to A to B, and then when you hit B, like whatever angle you put this would kind of do that. There'd be some sort of compromise if we have to. We'll find out.
Anybody else? Yeah, what's up?
Where'd you get the name for the professor?
Oh, I wonder. Oh, are you serious? Okay. Profesor is the Spanish word for professor, and pelotari is the Spanish word for the person who plays highlight. Pelota is the ball, and then pelotari is the person who plays with the ball.
Yeah.
So Professor Pelotari. All the little characters, they're pelotaris.
Any other questions?
Have you started the process for applying to develop for the Switch?
I have not, because I was looking at it, and we want to make it a little bit closer before we start talking to them, right? Because you have to have like everything looking pretty nice. Also, I think I got to update my resume and all that stuff, because they look at like every person's on the team's resumes and things like that.
It's intense. It's really intense.
Yeah, and we're hoping also to drive up a little bit more. What's the word? A little bit more coverage through like the Reddit and the streaming and stuff like that, so people are already talking about it a little bit, because it'll be easier to get our foot in the door if like someone over on their team has actually like heard of it somehow.
Any other questions? Yeah, what's up?
Can you customize the uniform?
That is in the works, yes, actually. I'm actually really excited about that, to be able to unlock different uniforms and outfits and things. Everybody is going to be able to have like their numbers on their jerseys, depending on what team you're on, of course. And then we want to be able to customize the helmets and the jerseys, depending. So yeah, what's up?
Have you considered doing things like that might make it more, I don't know, more visually difficult? For example, like have like a disco environment or something like that, that kind of like makes things more visually
Exciting.
Yeah, exciting.
And confetti. Fanfare. Yes.
Not just, but it might add an artificial level
Yeah.
of difficulty to the game that might make it more challenging or fun or something like that to kind of spice it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been thinking about some obstacle levels, like ones where maybe there's a slant, because the ball is actually based on physics, so we could make some physics-based obstacles, like a wedge or something that you can hit, or even like spikes that pop up, or like
Chasm to hell.
something like that. Yeah, I was thinking of a cylinder that pops up and down, so like if you get stuck, you like can't go around, or you can jump on top of it and stuff. There's a lot of things we could mess around, but right now we're just trying to get that in the one main room, have it very solid gameplay, and then we're going to try and talk to Nintendo.
Make it exciting.
Yeah.
Are you considering adding any sort of power-up? Say you make a really good play and get like a boost in some form?
We've been thinking about that because everyone's like, oh, if you're making an NBA Jam, they have to be on fire. I think on fire is a bad mechanic. It's flashy, it's cool, but you're rewarding the person who's already doing awesome by giving him a benefit. So if I score 3 points on you in NBA Jam, now I can score more points easily. Like, it's just going to make the divide better.
We will have, however, whenever you have a really awesome serve, like different things like we were talking about from the Miami Vice intro, like we got flamingos on the side, like awesome and great serve. So always giving you that visual and audio feedback telling you that you're doing an awesome job. As well, our turbo meter ends up being sort of a meta game as the velocity of the pelota increases during gameplay as you're not dropping it between the two teams and you're volleying back and forth. The turbo meter that you're using to dash and pick up the ball tends to become more of a meta game, trying to budget that little bitty turbo bar. So if we gave a power up like you're suggesting, it would interfere with that currently balanced mechanic.
Did you guys compose the music as well that you were talking about?
So, sometimes. So a lot of times with other projects, I've done music and I've been thinking about doing the music. We've actually, in the current build, I've turned it off right now, but I'm using a song of mine. We're looking for chiptune artists who already are a little bit more established to make it their, so we can have them featured in there, right? So we're trying to use the power of somebody else's leverage already. Be like, hey, this chiptune, soundtrack by X or whatever. So we're trying to talk to some people right now.
He's being modest. Any other questions? Cool.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.